Welcome to topic 2, probability and statistics. So probability just refers to the chance of something occurring or happening. So let's suppose that there are a number of possible outcomes that are equally likely, and the probability of that specific type of event or outcome occurring. So probability can be looked at a calculation like this. You have the probability, which we'll use with the letter F, divided by the total number that could happen. So here's a question. So in the event of tossing a coin, what is the probability of the occurrence of heads? Well, there's only 2 possible things that could happen. So out of the total number of possibilities, there's only 2. It's either going to be heads or it's going to be tails. So what's the probability of just heads? Well, if we're asking that, it would be 1. So the probability of flipping a coin and getting heads in this example would be equal to 50%. 1 divided by 2. And that's how you calculate probability. So there are some basic properties of probability. The first one is property 1. Now this is where the probability of an event is always between 0 and 1. So they're both inclusive. Now property 2 is where the probability of an event that cannot occur is 0, or it's an impossible event. And then a probability property number 3 would be that the probability of an event that must occur is 1. So it's a certain event. So to really understand probability, there's a few terms that we have to get. The first term is a term called sample space. Now, this is the collection of all the possible outcomes for any given experiment. The next term is something called a Venn diagram, which really shows all hypothetically possible logical relations between a finite collection of sets. And then finally, our event, which is a collection of outcomes for the experiment. That's really any subset of the sample space. So let's do an example of probability of getting a 3 followed by a 2 when we roll a dice twice. So the first thing we have to understand is our sample space. So in the first roll, there are 6 possible outcomes, right? It's 1 through 6 on a die. So our first part of our set is going to be 6. Now since we're rolling this die twice, we have to really multiply this together. So 6 and 6, so this would be throw 1 and this would be throw 2. 6 times 6 is equal to 36. So this is the total number of our sample size. So we're going to do that. 36, right? That's our number. Remember, it's always F on top, right? So the total number is 36. But now we have to try to figure out the total number of events. So if we're trying to figure out a 3 on the first and followed by a 2, so what's the probability of getting a 3 followed by a 2? Can happen only one way. And the probability of event would be 1. It can only happen one way, right? Because we have to roll a 3 first. And then after we roll the 3, we have to roll our 2. There's only one way that can happen. The 3 has to be rolled first, and the 2 has to be rolled second. So our probability is that.